And we're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bigfoot Odyssey. This is the Wednesday show. We usually either do a research or report, and that's kind of what this is going to be. We're gonna get into a short story, the William Roe, and but we've got some really good stuff we're going to show you guys and talk about here, and I think you're going to enjoy it. I'm your host, Kerry. With me this evening, the man himself, sitting right there, Mr. Mark Zasky from Crypto Reality. How are you, sir?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Oh,
Good to see you, Kerry.
No, good to see you, man. Another day, another dime.
Yeah.
Some folks make dollars. I make dimes. You see, I just got handed this. This is a tube that we pull to test for hydrogen sulfide gas. And this is a 50 to 800 tube. So there's about 600 parts per million on this well that just started about just a few days ago. It came on, but that's a lot. That's a lot. Hydrogen sulfide, when it's mixed with water, creates sulfuric acid. So when you breathe it, it mixes with the moisture in your lungs, and that's it. It's over.
Yeah, burn right through you.
Yeah. So there's been a lot going on just trying to deal with this. So I looked down, I saw that, and I was like, that's how it's been going for me.
That's how it escalates. When you start seeing those tubes, you know it's escalating.
Yeah. It's a dangerous job. It just is. And they pay us to be out here, so thank goodness for that. But anyway, we'll get beyond that. We're going to talk, and it says Elkanah Walker. That's even shorter. It's an Elkanah Walker was a missionary. Yeah, and had some writings in there. So I want to get to that and get those things out of the way. Let's discuss that so we can show them.
Now, isn't he the guy that spent like a decade with the Spokane and learned
so.
About the Sasquatch?
I don't know as very much history about Elkanah Walker.
It's been a while,
but we're just gonna have a look at it. That's all. As a matter of fact, let's do that first.
Let's do it.
And this was written by a guy named Drury in '76. The beginning of this. But the rest are the excerpts from Elkanah Walker himself. It says, if we are to believe the diary of Elkanah Walker, pioneer American missionary in Washington State to the Spokane Indians, he wrote, "Bear with me if I trouble you with a little of their superstitions. They believe in a race of giants which inhabit a certain mountain off to the west of us. This mountain is covered with perpetual snow. They, the creatures, inhabit the snow peaks. They hunt and do all their work at night. They are men stealers. They come to the people's lodges at night when the people are asleep and take them to their place of abode without even waking. Their track is 1.5 feet long. That's 18 inches. They steal salmon from Indian nets and eat them raw as the bears do. If the people are awake, they always know when they are coming very near by the strong odor that is most intolerable. It is not uncommon for them to come in the night and give 3 whistles, and then stones will begin to hit their houses." And that was that insert, and the rest of it. What we know is Reverend Walker's established mission was approximately located 25 miles northwest of present-day Spokane, Washington. His diary entry of the snow peaks to the west could be one of several peaks in the Cascade Range, such as Mount Baker, Mount Rainier, Mount Adams, Mount St. Helens, or possibly even Mount Hood on the Oregon side of the Columbia River. But Sasquatch researchers, those guys, generally believe the missionary was referring to Mount St. Helens, which has always carried legends of Sasquatch, ape-like men, and of course the 1924 story of Fred Beck and Ape Canyon, which we'll probably get to sometime. Not today.
I've been there. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I know you have. You were up there with where Germer had his sighting.
Yeah, man, that place is incredible, man. You're not in the snow, and then you go up the mountain, and the 8 caves is in the snow.
And there it is.
Yeah.
Well, there's one more paragraph here. It says, missionary Walker also penned pre-Civil War references to Mount St. Helens as a place where the white man and the Indians never frequented, and who asserted is inhabited by a race of beings of a different species, who are cannibals and whom they hold in great dread. In the private writings, he declared the Indians called these different beings Seacoats or Celatics. I'm probably not saying any of that right. words which he thought at the time of his writing possibly referred to renegade or outcast Indians, banished from tribal villages, and not the elusive timber giants. Of this referential point, we can't be sure, but his diaries were the first to make notation of it. So that was that. That's it's not a story or anything, but this guy was a missionary, and he got to hear from this tribe of Indians up there. It's more than just a belief. Obviously, we know this. These beings are up there. But what I found interesting was he said they are cannibal. Now, to me, the definition of cannibal is someone eating their own kind. Now, if they ate us, that wouldn't be cannibal, would it?
No, I've read accounts of that where they call them, where he uses the term man stealer. So that's not cannibalism. He's not talking about it. You know what I mean? So there's a clear distinction. I think it depends on who wrote it and, how they translated it or whatever. But
right.
To me, it's like the most interesting aspect is at the beginning, like we're reading from what is supposed to be a guy's diary, right? So this guy wrote it. He describes the hairy giant thing. You know what I mean? And it's interesting to me that it's continuously prefaced with, if we are to believe, you know what I mean? It's that there's always going to be that in this forward thinking society.
Absolutely.
It's like, the guys like leaving journals about what's going on. I mean, that's the only record they had, so, but as we move forward in history, opinion becomes less and less valuable as it has to do with the giant, hairy, swarthy ones.
Yeah, it does. And unfortunately, we're not quite in that place yet where, if you do make the assertion, it's going to be taken, absolutely seriously. But as we always say, skepticism has utility if it leads to conviction. As long as it leads to conviction, skepticism absolutely has utility. It does, because we have to learn at some point. We have to get beyond our biases. We have to get beyond how we've been indoctrinated over the years. So being skeptical is understandable. But if you don't have sense enough to look at the evidence, the preponderance of evidence that's out there already, set aside the stories and the 15,000 plus sightings in the last 25 years, then you just don't want to believe it. That's just all there is to it.
If you really would rather have the word of men of the cloth, there's about 7 of them that went on the Pacific Northwest from like 4 different countries that will all tell you the same story you just read.
Muchalat Harry.
Exactly the same things.
I read Muchalat Harry the other night. That's told by the priest.
Yeah,
I forgot what is and the all the Benedictines that were there with them.
It was a Spanish missionary that termed the phrase "face on the chest." People.
That's right.
So it's like there's more than enough recorded history from foreign missionaries. People with no reason to lie. First of all, it's against their moral code and their religious code and their absolute life code. So in the end, it's But then if you're a science man, you're probably thinking, yeah, this guy believes this guy believes that with no proof. He believed that with no proof too. And that's exactly what we're thinking,
Well, hey, either way, here we are. Trying our best to do it the way we're doing it and at least be convincing about it. So you don't have to believe, as far as I'm concerned, you don't have to believe any of this. Just pay attention when you're in the woods. And if you got the sense about you, you'll pick up on it. At least you should, if they're around, that is. But all right. Yeah, I've got the William Roe is kind of short. We'll get into this and talk about this, and then we're going to have most of the rest of the show is going to be about some stuff that went on in Arkansas and what Mark filmed and what he discovered. Just this one thing. Oh, and you guys can see my camera right back here. That's where I sit and film myself, do the breakdowns. So that's coming. I didn't get any on it today. It's been a lot going on here. But let's get into this. This is the sworn affidavit of William Roe. This is the affidavit. And that's why it says, I, W. Roe, of the city of Edmonton in the province of Alberta, make oath and say that the Exhibit A attached to this, my affidavit, is absolutely true and correct in all details. Ever since I was a small boy back in the forest of Michigan, I have studied the lives and habits of wild animals. Later, when I supported my family in North Alberta by hunting and trapping, I spent many hours just observing the wild things. They fascinated me. But the most incredible experience I ever had with a wild creature occurred near a little town called Tetuan Cache. I hope I said that right. British Columbia, about 80 miles west of Jasper, Alberta. I had been working on the highway near Tetuan for about 2 years. In October of 1955, I decided to climb 5 miles up Mika or Micah, M-I-C-A, Mika Mountain, Micah Mountain.
Probably Micah.
Okay. Well, we'll go with that. Micah Mountain to an old deserted mine just for something to do, just for kicks. I came inside. Yeah, just for the heck of it. Just, yeah, climb a mountain. Yeah. I came in sight. Excuse me. I came in sight of the mine. So sick of this. I came inside of the mine about 3 o'clock in the afternoon after an easy climb. I had just come out of a patch of low brush into a clearing when I saw what I thought was a grizzly bear in the bush on the other side. I had shot a grizzly near that spot a year before. This one was only about. Yeah.
Did you say in a bush? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was in a bush for some reason. I had shot a grizzly near that spot, spot the year before. This one was only about 75 yards away, but I didn't want to shoot it, for I had no way of getting it out. So I sat down on a small rock and watched my rifle in my hands. I could see part of the animal's head and the top of one shoulder. A moment later, it raised up and stepped out into the opening. Then I saw it was not a bear. This, to the best of my recollection, is what the creature looked like and how it acted as it came across the clearing directly toward me. My first impression was a huge man, about 6 feet tall, almost 3 feet wide, and probably weighing somewhere near 300 pounds. It was covered from head to foot with dark brown, silver-tipped hair, but as it came closer, I saw by its breasts that it was a female. The Micah Mountain Sasquatch drawn under. Oh, I don't have the drawing. Sorry.
Does this thing eat blueberries by him?
No, I don't think so.
It's of another
account. I only read it through it once earlier, just so I could kind of get familiar with it. Let's see. It was a female, and yet its torso was not curved like a female's. Its broad frame was straight from shoulder to hip. Its arms were much thicker than a man's arms and longer, reaching almost to its knees. Its feet were broader proportionately than a man's, about 5 inches wide at the front and tapering much thinner heels. When it walked, it placed the heel of its foot down first, and I could see the gray-brown skin or hide on the soles of the feet. It came to the edge of the bush I was hiding in, within 20 feet of me, and squatted down on its haunches. Reaching out its hands, it pulled the branches of bush toward it, and it stripped the leaves with its teeth. Its lips curled flexibly around the leaves as it ate. I was close enough to see that its teeth were white and even. The shape of this creature's head somewhat resembled an African American. The head was higher at the back than at the front. Occipital bun, I think they call that. The nose was broad and flat. The lips and chin protruded farther than the nose, but the hair that covered it, leaving barely only the parts of its face around the mouth, nose, and ears, made it resemble an animal as much as a human. None of his hair, even on the back of its head, was longer than an inch, and that on its face was much shorter. Its ears were shaped like a human's ears, but its eyes were small and black like a bear's, and its neck also was unhuman, thicker and shorter than any man's I'd ever seen. As I watched this creature, I wondered if some movie company was making a film at this place, and what I saw was an actor made up to look partly human and partly animal. But as I observed it more, I decided it would be impossible to fake such a specimen. Anyway, I learned later there was no such company near that area, nor in fact did anyone live up Micah Mountain, according to the people who lived in Tetuan Cache. Finally, the wild thing must have got my scent because it looked directly at me through an opening in the bush. A look of amazement crossed its face. It looked so comical at the moment, I had to grin. Still in a crouched position, it backed up 3 or 4 steps, then straightened up to its full height and started to walk rapidly back the way it had come. For a moment, it watched me over its shoulder as it went, not exactly afraid, but as though it wanted no contact with anything strange. I'm so sorry, I'm not reading very well today, y'all.
That was
The
great.
thought, yeah, except for all the mess up. The thought came to me that if I shot it, I would possibly have a specimen of great interest to science the world over. Yeah, right. I had heard stories of the Sasquatch, the giant hairy Indians that live in the legends of British Columbia Indians, and also many claim are still in fact alive today. Yeah? Is that what they claim? Maybe this was a Sasquatch, I told myself. This was 1955, so.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I think that was a pretty good description.
Yeah, not bad. I'm almost
interesting.
done. It's really short. I'm almost done with it. I leveled my rifle. The creature was still walking rapidly away, again turning its head to look in my direction. I lowered the rifle. Although I have called the creature it, I felt now that it was a human being, and I knew I would never forgive myself if I killed it. Just as it came to the other patch of brush, it threw its head back and made a peculiar noise that seemed to be half laugh and half language, in which I could only describe as a kind of whinny. Then it walked from the small brush into a stand of lodgepole pine. I stepped out into the opening, and looked across a small ridge just beyond the pine to see if I could see it again. It came out on the ridge a couple of 100 yards away from me, tipped its head back again, and again emitted the only sound I heard it make. But what this half laugh, half language was meant to convey, I do not know. It disappeared then, and I never saw it again. Really? You didn't know what it said? I wanted to find, sorry, I'm in that mood now, I guess. I wanted to find out if it lived on vegetation entirely or ate meat as well. So I went down and looked for signs. I found scat in 5 different places, and although I examined it thoroughly, I could find no hair, shells, bugs, or insects. So I believe it was strictly a vegetarian. Whatever. I found one place where it had slept for a couple of nights under a tree. Now the nights were cool up in the mountain in this time of year especially, and yet it had used no fire. I found no signs that it possessed even the simplest of tools, nor a single companion while in this place. Whether this was a Sasquatch, I do not know. It will always remain a mystery to me unless another one is found. I hereby declare the above statement to be in every part true to the best of my powers of observation and recollection. Signed, William Roe, and that part was from Ivan T. Sanderson, the Legend of Abominable Snowman Legend Come to Life, was the book that Ivan, one of the books Ivan put out anyway. But whether it was a Sasquatch, I do not know. Well, call it whatever you want. You know, you don't have to call it a Sasquatch, a bush Indian, or whatever you want to call it. It was the same thing everyone else reports seeing. The only thing to me is the behavior. And I think if he hadn't been hidden, and this being maybe not used to seeing people or even looking out for people, is the only reason that it happened the way it did. You know, it's to our experience, you're not going in the woods without these things knowing you're there. But that's probably what has a lot to do with where we go too.
Yeah. No, that's the middle of nowhere. That's the middle of nowhere. And at the same time, you know, having no experience at, you know, the creatures or anything like that, I think he did a pretty good job. You know, sounded to me like, you know, the kind of thing where he describes the creature looking at him all like amazed, like the things like, what is this thing doing here? Like it's never seen anything like that. And it sounds to me like it's calling for a little backup. You know what I mean? That's what I walk away from. Like, you know, this obviously he's describing a female, and then, you know, had to get there somehow.
that noise wasn't for him.
I don't think it was, but you know, I mean, I can understand what it is when you walk in and you see one and you have no idea they exist. I've been there, you've been there. So like 1,000 things go through my head. It really wasn't until maybe a couple of years later and 15,000 times of dissecting what happened that I really started putting it together the way that I view it now. And it's totally different the way I view the encounter, you know? I mean, I think it's like that with almost everything that happens, you know?
Well, we talked about this. We have to, it's almost like we have to retrain ourselves because of all the indoctrination, all the information out there that I think is not right. I think if it was right, we would be a lot farther along than we are. These creatures just evade us so well. I just believe that most researchers are busying themselves looking for the wrong thing or looking for something specific and not broadening, the search, as it were. I just wonder, especially when y'all see what we're about to show you, how many people have things like this and just never noticed it. Because
sure. A lot of people, you know, I mean, I don't think we would be where we were if it wasn't for the 2013 sighting that I had of the guy with the white skin and the gray hair that we now know is more than likely clear. We have that, you know, and so, that I think gave us a head start because it turns out that here there are quite a few individuals like that, what I saw. And so having the advantage of seeing the phenomenon that is hiding them out in the open start to work as he neared the bushes. I couldn't understand at that time. It took me a couple of years to put it together. But once I got in the field, it's like, you know, it became very obvious. And so I understand, man, you know, I mean, it's taken me 7 years of looking at the phenomenon on film in disgust, really, to really begin implementing it into my real-time field research to the point now where I see the phenomenon and then the creatures, you know, and that's the thing, you know? I mean,
well, like I was telling you earlier, and this is the analogy that I'm going to be given in the film. It's like reading an X-ray. When the average person looks at an X-ray, they see bones and flesh and organs. You know, we don't see, you know, the any underlying issue, or we could never pick one out if we're not trained to do it. It's just like, and now we're looking at the bushes. The bushes are the bones, organs, and flesh, and we're trying to find what's in there. And you have to train, you have to learn to look at what's in there. And when you take an actual critical look at these things, which we're going to do here in just a few minutes, you'll see why we come to the conclusions that we do. This is what's leaving the tracks, the hair, the smells, making the noise. It's this. This is not the bushes.
It's oddly enough, the critical thinking that I was trained with from my experiences in the research community and just looking at, you know, the amateur research communities, evidence and all this stuff. The online research thing is a lot of peer pressure, and the peer pressure comes out on the other end. And it wasn't until we were able to actually critically think in real time out there. Here's a trail that does not belong here. The homeowners already stated they don't go up on this ridge enough to create trails. So when I see a trail in real time that's beat down far and beyond any trail that the homeowners actually walk on regularly, critical thinking in that moment is someone else is making this trail. And so I followed it because I was critically thinking about the situation, not allowing skepticism to enter into the equation. Yeah. Someone else made this trail. This is a property with, like, you know, borders. No one's supposed to be up here. Who could this be? Homeowners are describing these creatures. Let me follow up on this. So I turn around, I walk 20 feet, and I see the phenomenon through my tree line across the cut of the power line trail and into the power line trail tree line on the other side, approximately 100 feet away from me. I'm witnessing the exact colorations I see when I review film from the creek bed. And then eventually in those clips, I start seeing the creatures in that fog. So I witnessed it, the phenomenon first. And then on camera, I kind of whistle a little bit for a second, and I'm filming it. And then I say, there he is. Because I'm staring right at him, and he appears on the film as I'm, saying, there he is. And when you watch it, it's, you know, and again, this is just a frame when we show you, but you can see this creature plainly standing there watching me. And it's then that I started hearing other things and got uncomfortable and took off, really, basically. When I realized that you guys weren't on your way up, I was like, okay, I'm alone with the creatures. And I knew there was more than one because you can hear them. And it was a long way up there where I was. And you saw how small I was. I was only like, you know, 3/4 of the way up there the first time I poked out.
Well,
so
this is right after the tree fall. It's right after the tree fall.
That's right. This is
right
where
after the
we
tree
went.
fall.
We went to investigate the tree fall. But that the sighting, it wasn't just that. It was like on the way up there, I thought someone was shooting on the property because the wood knocks were so close to me and so like powerful that they sounded like guns. The smacks that hit behind me,
I got them on camera.
Gunshots in my ear.
I was filming. I got them on camera. I was filming when that happened.
Yeah, and
I tried to film as much as I could.
It was maybe another 60 feet carry after those. I thought they were gunshots. I said that to you. I was outside my body, bro. I was alone, and then as soon as I saw their trail, it was like instant. You know, I was in full flight mode, but somehow still standing there. And then I picked up on the phenomenon. It just was like, you know, there was no getting around the fact that I'm staring at the creature and it's staring at me. And then some other stuff started moving off, and that's when I was like, I gotta go. You know, so I took off running down the hill. You know.
Oh, here's a good endorsement for us, Crystal. Love the new Impossible website. 100. You guys are great. Thank you so much. So that reminds me that I should be reminding you guys that haven't gone and checked out the film. That's on the link is in the description. It's right there on top. It says Impossible. At least go check out the website. If you don't rent the film, you don't. But when you rent it, you're going to see some stuff in there that's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to kind of like just
thank you, Crystal,
say something about what you were saying earlier about you know, what are our other researchers focusing on? This is what we do. When we find all of the evidence that typically most people are just recording, we use it to track the animal. So we keep going. We use it. If there's tracks, we're going in the direction of the tracks. And in almost every instance where we track these animals, we get into an area where we've got either occurrences like whistling and yelling or something, or we're catching them on film. So tracking the creature past the stuff that typically people are freaking out over finding, overcoming that initial find, and then using the critical thinking in real time to actually follow up on it is how we did what we did and how we continue to do it. You know,
that's it. That's it. Hey, thank you, Jill Stanley. Welcome to the Bigfoot Odyssey family. And shout out to Jack Melton for the PayPal donation. Thank you, Bubba. Appreciate you. Yeah, when you're talking about what you thought were gunshots, when I was coming out, because I just went to Pam's stand, and where they found the tree was just another 50 feet in there. It was just so thick, I didn't see it. If I did, but I didn't want to cross that fence because it wasn't their property. They crossed it and went and found it. But when I was walking back, I'm filming Paul walking toward me. And when I heard that, I stopped. And I looked at Paul, and he just kind of, the way I remember it, he turned and looked that way and then looked back at me and just kind of, yeah, it was not gunshots. First, there's no season open. Second, there's no one that lives in that direction. It's just woods for miles, and there's no one out there. And plus it didn't ring out enough for me to be gunshots. You were just close to it. That's
well, I mean, the curious part about where that happened was where it happened on the grade. We had that grade that was going up, and there was a little bit of a round out where the curvature was 8 out, and you could see a good long way across this flat spot, and there was a huge row of bushes. It came from beyond those bushes. But it was only, I would say it was 200 feet from me. It was about 200 feet from me, but it was loud, man. I mean, I jumped and like looked back, and I was looking across that flat spot, and I saw the trees, and I thought, is that someone else's property? Am I safe? Are they hunting? What's going on here? And I turn around, and when I walked, like I said, about another 60 feet or so, I found their trail. And that was when it all happened.
That's it. That's well, we're going to show this, and when you first see it, well, there may be people that look at it first and say, "Oh, well, that's just the bushes." I'm going to show you why it isn't. when you look at it for long enough and for a second, you'll see why it isn't. I'm going to put this first one up here. Let me make sure which one I want to put. Yeah, this one. That's the one. I got to look. I've learned. I got to look at it first. Share this screen. It's the one in the middle. All right. It's a little zoomed in. That's about, but we're going to show you the zoom out. Yeah, we're going to show you
clip.
Yeah, we're going to show you the zoom out of it. But you know, his nose, it looks, because it's so zoomed in, it's a little matrixed. But this is what we're looking at right here. There's, you know, eye, the brow. This is bush or leaf coming down in front. This is why it's not the bushes, because when you get to see everything else that's around it and get some context, this is all leaf and bush right here. Mark said this is his hand, and it may be, I don't know. It's just too blurry to see in this, but nostrils right here, the nose. But let me show this other one. And that way they'll get a little bit better idea.
Yeah, there's some real clear frames. I mean, I shot it in 4K. So like the end of the clip, man, you can just see his mouth moving. He's blinking. He's looking right at me.
That's the same stupid one, Gary.
I loaded them into the brand. You want me to put them up on the screen?
Well, I just wanted to be able to use the cursor. This one, there you see a little bit more there. This is a different frame. But see, this is from a different angle because you moved. And you see these leaves in the right here, these two leaves in the other picture are over here. So when you moved over, none of this changed. Now you can clearly see this is in front of him. This is in front of it, whatever. This is back here behind. And
yeah,
put that way. Now that we've showed people, let's put yours up there.
Mark. Yeah, these are going to be bigger. They're going to appear a lot larger. Here's one right here.
Right. But look around that. There's nothing else like that in there. Okay. This is the part of the critical part that I'm talking about. But you were looking at this individual watching you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He's looking at me. He's moving his mouth. He's blinking. And there were other ones moving in the bushes on his right and up the hill. A couple of them started walking off. And that was when I panicked, basically. I was like, oh, God, they're moving everywhere around there. I'm like, I'm out of here.
And plus, this is just
I shot about 45 seconds before my body was like, it's time to go.
Well, this is just still frames. Well, you guys are going to get to see if you watch the film, which will be on.
Check your audio, Gary.
My audio?
Yeah.
Is it out? Can you not hear me?
There's another frame. Yeah, you're not coming through very clear right now.
Really?
There you go.
That better?
Yeah, there you go.
I might not have been plugged in good, but these are just still frames. So the film is going to have the clip in it, and you'll get to see that as Mark is moving, this thing stays the same. The angle is different, but it's watching him. And what is it doing? It's behaving like something hiding and watching him. But this is just one thing that was found in this. We've got so much footage to go through, y'all. And that last day, I can tell you right now, when Mark and I were going down that creek, we were being followed.
Oh, and absolutely. Yeah.
We filmed. I know I stopped and filmed at our 5 o'clock and our 7 o'clock, every place we stopped. And we're pretty sure we're seeing something else up a hill a little bit deeper in, but we got to get to that and review it. But
that's right.
There they are. Okay. Yeah. There's one of them anyway, which I think there were at least 5, because that's how many vocalizations I heard. 5 vocalizations in about 3 minutes. And they were all the way around. Nuts. Yeah. And I've said this already. And for anybody that hasn't seen, Paul had just gone to town. Mark was in taking a shower. Pam was inside in the kitchen or whatever. I'm standing at the tailgate of my truck facing kind of northeast. And I was eating hot dogs, just no bun, I'm doing the carnivore things. I'm just sitting there eating cold hot dogs because it was lunchtime. And I heard behind me, hey, it was 2 different levels there. It wasn't just a sound. It was, sound like somebody 100 yards behind me, just a regular voice going, hey. And then straight out ahead of me where the tree fall was the, oh. And then I'm texting Pam, there's vocalizations going on out here. And as she's coming out the long, straight to my left, 9 o'clock. And then as soon as that ended, to the right of it were the two whoops. I mean, beautiful, crisp, whoop, whoop, right behind each other. And Pam heard the end of the long one and the two whoops. And then just to the right of that, I mean, right after it, there was time between the first two and the last three, about a minute and a half, maybe, not much. But I'm fumbling trying to get the camera on for the whoops. And then after the whoops was it was a gurgling, I can't do it, but it was like, it was not even close to that. It was a lot deeper and just weird. That's the one I caught on camera, though. You guys will get to hear that one.
If you combine,
thank you, John. Appreciate you, buddy.
It's happening, man. It was nuts. You know, I mean, we did a good job collecting for sure. I mean, I had an encounter with one that got to catch it on film. The stuff you recorded, I mean, it's compounding. As I go through, I haven't even been able to look at 99% of the footage yet. Like, no kidding. I have like almost 400 gigs, man. And I know you said something about 6, right?
6. I'm sorry. My boss sent me a message here.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. Typically on an expedition, my wife and I shoot about 20 gigs. So we got considerable data to go through.
Oh man, a ton. This is that's our resident skeptic, John Holmes. Great job as always. Glad to see Mark back up and sounding better. Looking forward to the next convo. Yeah, we're gonna be getting John on here a little bit more often for sure. But yeah, if you guys have any questions or anything, put them all in capitals for me, please. If there's anything you guys asked before this, I missed it, so you might have to write it again. But this is from Christy Ann. Do y'all have any sites of interest in Louisiana by chance? Well, yes, we do. Yes, we certainly do. John Day lives in Louisiana, I believe. Did you talk to John? Was that you that talked to John?
Yeah, we talked to John.
It was Louisiana, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Now, we shot a documentary. Our 7th documentary in the Bigfoot Odyssey series was in a remote subdivision, Carl and Rachel Gautreaux, just out on the edge of Lafayette, about a half a mile from the Atchafalaya Basin. And there was a coulee, which is just a ditch. It's just really deep and wide for drainage because it's Louisiana. It's like 5 feet above sea level there going through, which is they had the perfect way to get through. And their house had been there almost 20 years at that point. So there was only a few houses there, when they were first built. And I think these creatures have been coming there the whole time, stealing dog food, just messing around in people's backyards. But the only way he even noticed they were taking the dog food, because he had a bin sitting in the back. Like, you just pour the dog food in. That way he just lifted up, put a scoop for his dogs. Had these beautiful, beautiful dogs, huge. But he started buying blue buffalo. It was like $70 a bag for a 50-pound bag of blue buffalo dog food. And it was, he remembered putting one in, and it was like 3 days later, he went, looked, and it was empty, and he had bought 2. But no, Rachel had put the other one in, all gone. 100 pounds of dog food in 4 days is what it was.
That's a tough nut right there, buddy.
But when he found the track, 2
bears, about it.
Yeah. Well, it's their house is fenced in. They have a privacy fence, 6-foot privacy fence. It's 2 inches off the ground, so it's about 6'2". And when he finds the footprints on the concrete, and it just, I told him to smell it. He did, and he said, "Man, it stunk. And it smelled like it was the worst thing, like an outhouse." He says what it smelled like. I can't believe he actually did it, but it was on the patio. And it was 17 inches long. You see the toes. You can see it's just a stain on the concrete. And it's huge. I said, go look in the yard for some more. He finds 5 more. Right where it jumps over, he cast them. He cast one of them.
That sounds like about 37 different sci-fi channel Bigfoot movies.
Coming into the backyard.
Pounds of food. The guy comes out at night. Then there's Cass. You know what I mean? It's like nuts.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, y'all. I got sidetracked for a second. I'm going back. Okay. I'm gonna start starring these questions here. There's that one. And then all I'm doing, I'm not reading these. If I see caps, I'm starring it. That's all. Mark, you got the controls too.
I'm looking. I keep seeing statements in caps.
Oh, yeah, you guys don't do that. Don't put statements in caps. Unless that's the only reason you put something in caps is if you're yelling. So I got 8 of them here. Let's see what's the question.
Okay.
Let's see. Yowie Fungi. Thoughts on why world governments do not reveal the existence of Bigfoot? Man, that's a whole show. Yowie, that is an entire show for us. Because who knows what it is, really, why they do it, why it's kept hidden. Maybe it reveals something about us that people don't want us to know, maybe our own origins. It certainly doesn't fit in well with the narrative we've been taught for the last 150 years about evolution. So that's my thoughts on it. Money is another one. You know, they won't even tell us that there are mountain lions or panthers in an area because, or if the wildlife officers won't, they'll deny it. No, they're not around here. Even after you see one and tell them, hey, look, I saw one, or show them a picture. You know, they're not around here. You know, that's for somewhere else. And it doesn't matter where you go. It's always somewhere else.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Because they don't want people afraid to go in the woods. So maybe that's part of it. I think it may be multiple layers of reasons of why. Maybe it's all those. Maybe it's none of them. Who knows? I hope it's a good one. That's all I can think of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I look at my own life for evidence for why, you know, and I just see that the layers of lies are applying from like the beginning of everything. So when you really start looking at it, like in my own life, it's like every single angle from the very beginning has been set up for ownership of the people who were coming in, and they were covering up the Native American occupations of these areas. In fact, ownership of these areas, if they had settled in a particular area, they were covering up everything and advertising overseas free land when the land they were advertising for was already lived on, you know, and we're not even talking about the Sasquatch. So if you really look at it, just the fact we have a model for denial just in the Native American experience here with European settlers coming, essentially raiding lands. And so, you know, the economy was set up from this, period. The denial of what's right, what's morally right, morally correct, has been instilled in this from the very beginning, that we need to ignore what's morally correct. And that was about identified visually, you know, 4 million Native Americans, you know what I mean? So it doesn't surprise me at all that all they had to do was continue that trend, since these things don't exist.
Right.
You know, here we are 246 years later, 10,000, you know, recorded sightings. I mean, over the history of this, who knows? There was no BFRO when people were settling America. It's my opinion that's when the bulk of these encounters occurred. We have nothing compared to what those people went through, cutting the forest down on their way in. I don't even want to think about the things that happened that went unreported. There is definitely a reason some of these creatures look more human. Some of them do. And I've seen
They absolutely do. That's true. Agreed. But yeah, Yowie, it's, you can hurt your brain. But if you think about it long enough and you either know or you truly believe, it'll piss you off. So, Haza, how are you doing? Do you think Yetis are in Canada and not Bigfoot? They seem to be more aggressive. I don't know that there's a distinction myself. I think there's such a variance with these creatures already that They could be all just either related. Maybe there are different types. I don't know. People claim that there are. I don't know how anybody would know that for sure. And we say this all the time. The problem with typing these creatures is that Joe Blow comes along and types them some other way. Who's right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the problem with not being able to study these creatures and actually, get whatever the discernments are and actually figuring those out. And if there's a pattern to it and how it happens and why. And I think that's the only true way we're going to be able to do it. So in my mind, anyway.
Yeah, man, we got to, there's a long road ahead, but, looking at what he's saying, there's visual evidence as well as anecdotal evidence that the further north you go, there's something a lot bigger, man. There's places in the Pacific Northwest where there are 100-foot trees that have been ripped out of the ground and jammed back in the ground, and there's dozens of them. There could be hundreds of them if people spent more time wandering into these areas that they already know they're not supposed to go into. But in the end, it's like, there's something so big that it can take a 100-foot tree and rip it down, rip it out of the ground, roots and all, and stuff it in the ground upside down. We're not talking about Patty, So I think the inference that she has is legitimate. There's something, it seems like there's something giant up in there. And the further north you go, the evidence shows it. More larger tracks, and crazy.
Look at Florida. You got some stuff in there that is just absolutely monstrous. Not all of them are like that, but some are.
Yeah.
Same thing. That's why I say, in a given area, these things may, if there are differences in types, maybe they just tolerate each other. Maybe they cross up and it just keeps making something different. I think you even suggested the human being put into that. So that's makes my brain hurt. All right, Brian McMahon. Can Bigfoot Odyssey go on Kojak podcasts? Conspiracy or just a coincidence? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. We can go on anybody's podcast. They have to invite us though. Brian, is that you? Are you inviting us? We'd love to. 100%.
Yeah.
If y'all are asking questions right now, I'm missing them. I promise you.
I'm looking.
Okay. Have they had many sightings in Maine that you know of? Mark, let you handle that. Ken R.
Yeah, there's a big hole in Maine. There's a big hole. And one of the reasons is it's not very populated. I have a little personal history in that area and a good friend that was living up there. He says that, a lot of the places are remote that these encounters happen. He's like, you'll hear about them locally, but they're not going on any kind of a national database kind of thing. What I saw up there was an expansive state, man, with very little development. There's literally a mountain that I was talking to you about this a few months ago. I think Crypto Odyssey should eventually try to go there. But at the foot of the mountain, there's a sign that says, if you go past this sign, no one's coming to get you. And a lot of people disappear here. And it literally says that, like, bring everything you need to get out of here because there ain't no one coming for you. And in that area, people constantly go missing, according to the locals and what I was told about that area. We don't hear anything about Maine. Or rarely anyway. It's very rare. So I think there are a lot more sightings there. I know when I was there, I was present with someone who saw one and managed to capture a subject on film within minutes and within yards of where it was seen. So that was really cool. We did find a lot of tracks, and pretty much the hollows were in that area where the sighting was were torn to pieces, man. And there was sign everywhere. That was the first place that I literally saw one of those giant spikes where it's just a giant ball of trees all jammed together with points. And it was trees, not branches, trees jammed into this thing. And it was suspended off the ground by two vines, and you could swing it. This big, huge spike. It just was like a ball of spikes like sticking out of it, Looked like a big old jack, but with a lot more jacks sticking out of it.
Like a mace, like a big mace.
Yeah, a mace, but with trees. Like trees. I couldn't believe I was staring at it for almost a minute before I really realized what I was looking at, man. the gravity of what it was like, what? Like, how are you going to get these trees to do this? I mean, this is like takes a feat of strength, and it's forest.
I've heard people call that an asterisk.
That's what it looked like. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good description. So I'm going to use that one from now on. I saw
asterisk. It looked like an asterisk. Yeah, that's what Nathan Rio used to find them all the time, and he'd find them at a particular elevation. That was another strange thing. All right, here we go. Mr. and Mrs. Mack. The one I call Jolly Green Giant is just referring to how well they blend in the. Oh, right. Thank you, Miss Mack. Y'all try not to use caps unless you're asking a question. We appreciate you. All right. Miss Kathleen Roscoe says the head seems small compared to the foliage. How big are you thinking they are? Let's put it back up there and look, Mark.
Yeah.
You got
a good estimate. I have a real good estimate. Having checked out both tree lines, we were able to see what was going on. The creature's on the exact same grade I'm on. I estimated it to be around 7 feet tall.
Yeah. You got the picture?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me toss it up there.
Let's throw it back up. I don't know. It doesn't seem very small to me. It's just some distance there. It's back behind the leaves of the oak trees you see there in front. So I'd probably say it's bigger than a human, or at least human sized.
It was bigger than me. That's the thing. We have the benefit of somebody who stood there and looked at it. So
right.
In looking at the creature, I would say it was about 7 feet tall. Its head was approximately twice the size of mine. And that's, me standing there staring at it. And there was other things moving in there.
Well, this just highlights an issue, is that when you don't have a lot of context, it's hard to kind of figure out size, because all you have is a face poking through the bushes.
Yeah.
And unless you look around and really think for a second, like I said, think a little bit critically about what's going on. Is that the bushes, or is it in the bushes? It's in the bushes. It's the tumor on the X-ray.
That's right. It's the tumor on the X-ray.
Yeah, that unless you train to know what to look for, you're probably not going to find it. But unfortunately enough, Mark has trained himself and found these. And look, you talked about not being here. Had you not seen that, Bigfoot Odyssey wouldn't be here if I hadn't recognized what I had seen and what you were showing back in 2015.
Yeah.
Ain't no way.
We were doing the same thing back then, having encounters, and I'm going, there it is. And we're filming it and then showing people. And that was like what you were watching,
That's it.
You just track it in the direction it's going. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not rocket surgery. All right. Jason Dobbins. Oh, this is Dixie. Hey, Uncle Kerry and Mark. Why do you think they hit people's house? Sorry, I'm on Daddy's phone. You ain't got to apologize. Just tell your dad to get your phone and get you a YouTube account. Get you one, Dixie. Or I'll tell you what, go on your dad's account and change the name to yours. That's what you need to do. I'm not trying to get you in trouble, Dixie.
Dixie Dobbins.
Dixie's 11. So why do they do that? I'll give you my brief reason that I think they do it. What better way to teach your child, your young one, how human beings react than to actually show them? Because we're very reactive, especially when you do something like hit the house. People, if you're unaware, you're just going to come out and, maybe. But if you are, I think that may be the whole reason they throw things, so they'll know whether or not you're aware, depending on how you come out and how you react. But what better way? That's one reason. But what seems to be the case in more times than not, with all the people that I've talked to, and I'm sure you too, Mark, is that once you do become aware, it just escalates. It gets more and more and more and more. So what that is, I don't know and why, but it's almost like a game to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, man. I talk to a lot of people like this with the, smacking on the house thing. And one thing in common is I've never talked to anybody that it's happened in the daytime too. It's always at night. And the creatures are, known to be more active at night.
Right.
It's interesting. I think they watch us during the day. If the gentleman in North Carolina that I went to had described completely different behaviors if he had described, and I didn't know any better, behaviors that I couldn't associate with what, we'd already experienced in our research, I wouldn't have been able to identify it. One of the behaviors that they were on his property, but the behaviors that, he stated that was the clincher was this house smacking, 3 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, I went to go to the bathroom and I looked out the window, which is 11 feet, and I measured it. And there was a dude standing there. His face was in the window at 11 feet. Mm. And he was like, he took off up the hill. But just listening to these things, it's weird to me because on one hand, you don't make contact unless you want to make contact, right? And these things are hiding from him on his property for decades, right? He's lived there. He's fourth generation on his property. They've been doing stuff. And so what I told him to do was change his routine. And the first time he did, he came home 20 minutes early and one was standing in his driveway. The sun had started going down and it got pissed off and stormed off up the mountain, ripping trees apart, yelling. It's one of those things where, why would you knock on the house if you didn't want somebody to know you were there? And so I got to agree with you. I think it's a boredom thing. I think it's a game. I think they're testing, reactions. They're seeing what's going on. They're probably bored. They watch you all day long. If you have a house out there, they're watching, So it's like there's a certain amount of this that once you're in it, you got to kind of start laying it out before you to follow through on these theories. And one of the things that, leads me in those directions where I will start thinking, okay, there's a good chance these creatures are on the property are the house smacking incidents. Juvenile delinquents do that kind of stuff. We 12 years old in the neighborhood on Halloween throwing poop at people's door. You know what I'm saying? It's juvenile, lighting a bag on fire, tossing it on somebody's porch, man. It's the same thing. It is the way I'm looking at it,
100%. All right. I got 14 questions here. So we'll get through these. Papa Craig, are you guys coming out west? I'll tell you what, if there's somewhere to go out there, if there's a story to tell and a place to investigate, sure. Anywhere. We're down.
We've been getting invites on Crypto Reality to Virginia.
Yeah,
we've got one for Georgia. There's all kinds of people interested in having us come to their property. And a lot of people are contacting Crypto Reality, and just vaguely, hey, I know a place. This is going on in there. We'd love to have you guys come and just do an evaluation kind of thing. So
yeah,
that's
first
great.
thing we got to do is get through the ones we've already made and hopefully get enough of our dime back through the website to continue to do it. That's going to be huge for us. Is just getting people, and we haven't really advertised that much. No. So just to you guys, I think
people are going to respond, Kerry. The reality of the situation is that you can see what we're talking about. You don't have to take our word. We're telling you there's a track and there's a track on the ground. I saw something moving around in the bush over there. Here's the footage. It resembles exactly what we're looking for. Most people don't have that disconnect.
Right.
And it's real simple for them. 2 + 2 still equals 4.
And also you got to keep in mind that we make these films. We don't make them for the people in the Bigfoot subject. We know you guys know what we're saying. It's almost like not dumbed down, but simplified to a degree for those that don't look into the subject much. That's who we're after. That's who we're trying to get to pay more attention. Are those people that are just looking for some kind of entertainment, some interesting story. So it has to have all this, got to have those dynamics for that to happen. So it's not elementary, but it's not exactly made for just the people that are in the Bigfoot subject. So I think that fleshes out, and you see what we're saying when you actually, or will get to see the Odyssey along with the investigation. So
here we go. If we can just help people have those aha moments, about this, that's good enough for me, man. Just listen. This is what's going on. If we can increase the possibility in their mind an iota,
right?
Succeeded,
Yeah, that's like I say all the time. That's a game I think we can win, especially since it's our game. Well, we can win. We should be able to win our own game. Proof, I don't think it's a game we can win unless we drag a body out somewhere. And even then, it's going to be a mountainous task because of the walls that are in place there. But anyway, Mr. John Schleifer, $10. Thank you, sir. You are the
Thanks,
man.
John.
Will all future productions be distributed on the Impossible site? All right. This is how it goes. Is when we go somewhere, we're going to shoot the story because that's what's got. We got to have a narrative to go through of what's been going on in this area. Okay, which is what Bigfoot Odyssey has always done. We've done 13 of them, and that's what we gave you was the story. The investigation that Mark and I do is what you'll get on Impossible. So whatever Mark is showing you, like you see here tonight, the still frame we're giving you here. If you want to watch the full clip and see the film that's going to be made on it, or the story of what Mark and I went through there for 3 days, that's where you'll get that.
That's
and
where
look, yeah, and the reason, look, there's a reason we did that, and I don't think I have to explain it, but we had several different avenues we could have gone down. We thought about Patreon. A lot of people do Patreon to try to support what they're doing. They put extra content on there. The only problem with Patreon is it's a monthly occurrence. You're paying every month, just like you guys pay us the $3 a month here to be a member of Bigfoot Odyssey and don't get a whole lot for it. We're trying to change that too, by the way. We're going to start doing some more content for you guys in that respect. But we decided we'll make our own website and do it per film. That way it's not occurred. It's $3 and you get to see and help us out at the same time. That's all. That's what it was. That's why we did it that way. Yeah,
recouping expenses is a necessary part of continuation of this project. It's just what it is. It costs money to do this, and a lot of it. And it's not just the hard work, but Carrie and I have a significant investment in this, and it's about the truth and bringing you what hasn't been brought to you yet. And I think we're doing that. We are doing that.
Yeah, I hope we are. We don't want to keep bringing you guys the same old thing. We want to get something better. We want people to follow us, and it's earning trust. You have to trust that what we're showing you is what we got, and the story we're telling you, what happened to us, is what happened. So that's another thing in it is getting people to trust that what you're showing them is what that actually is.
Yeah.
But people make up their minds anyway. But I think the more you get to know us and watch what we're doing, you'll see we're not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes here. We're not trying to get rich. I'd love to. That'd be great if 1 million people rented the film, but that's not the point. Just recovering, because there's no funding available for this. And I don't know. I'm explaining things I'm sure I don't have to explain to grown people anymore. So let's move on here. Norman Elliott. Do we not have guest speakers anymore? Yeah, but our producer has been in hospital. So and she's still there. And so and the way I work, it's been difficult. So I didn't want to not put shows out because this is Daniela's only source of income right now is what we get from Bigfoot Odyssey. So I didn't want to not do a show. And I think, YouTube gives us like $40-50 a show is what we get off one with the amount of views we get at the most. And it means a lot to her. So we take our time and come on here and do this. So we appreciate y'all very much. There's a lot. There's 509 people in here. Christiane, in y'all's personal opinion, do you feel Sasquatch are more curious than aggressive, or do you believe it depends? I think it's all situational. Go running after them when what happens to you, Mark?
Yeah, they're not okay with being infringed on, like in that aggressive kind of way. But I did manage to have many of these encounters and capture them on film over the last 7 or 8 years, and I'm still here to tell you about it. So I think when there's a very strong argument for the fact that in almost every situation that I've tracked an animal and become aggressive to elicit a response, I got an aggressive response. So,
right.
I don't try to do that anymore. Any response is good enough. Escalating situations with wild animals that you're unsure of, what they're going to do, and especially something that is like this and is something that I don't do that anymore. What we're doing now in trying to make contact is very peaceful. We're bringing them some things to a drop. We're giving them the opportunity to take it at will after we leave. we did it differently for a while, and I paid consequences for that, you know. So, and as well,
it was that was that learning curve there,
yeah,
in that, and that's the thing about not knowing. And if you're able to go to crypto reality and listen to some of the lives that Mark does and some of the videos that he does, and you'll get to hear all the mistakes that he and Melanie made through the years and what they've gone through and why they've gotten to the point that they have, and why it's a really special circumstance what's going on down there. It's habituation to a degree. It is. When you're talking about, you know, the apples and interacting indirectly, and that's how you guys catch them on film. And I haven't seen anybody do it better. I've seen other people do it, just not as good. That's all. I had something on my brain. Oh, it's like people. Be respectful and you'll be respected. Be disrespectful and you're going to be disrespected. So that seems to be the way it is.
The thing that gets me is in every single one of these encounters that we've had, when it's been visual, like what happened at Pam and Paul's, there's something that comes over you when you realize really what's going on. Like I'm out of breath and I've got the Osmo and I'm tracking and I'm amazed that I found this trail and all this stuff. And so as soon as all that wore off and I realized I'm here alone now, that's like, you know, really when the human perspectives on all of this stuff start kicking in, and I have to resist the fight or flight thing. And just looking at the whole thing, it's like human perspective, you know. What would they have done if I stayed there for 5 more minutes? Yeah. Would it have stepped out? But my human perspective continues to limit me. And I look at that as a failure. You know, I succeeded in capturing this creature on film, but not to the degree that I should have, if my human perspectives would allow me to just be in the situation. The things that I've seen have obviously traumatized me. And even to the degree where, knowing full well I got one in front of me right now, the situation is never, it doesn't seem to me that these creatures are alone very often, because I'm hearing more than what I'm seeing. And obviously when it's 20 yards away and it's moving off and it sounds big. So, you know, it's difficult in those situations, man. You don't know what these things are going to do. And when it's right there in front of you, it's all you can do to not run. And so, you know, for me, it's
true
that way, overcoming my own limitations so that I can actually stand there and see, is this knocking on the house about meeting up with us somehow? Is this watching people by the pool about coming out of the tree line and making contact? I don't know, because I freaked out when I saw it. That's the reality of it.
Well, it's a double-edged sword, I think, because I think it's the level of awareness that we have that is the drawback for us. You know, no, regardless of why we're there, I'm not going to blame you for self-preservation. I don't think anybody else would either. You know what I'm saying? So sure. I think it's, if you were unsure or you were on the fence, I think you'd be a lot more likely. But if you're that, you're not going to have the eye to notice it. So
it's like once you've seen the devil, you know what I mean?
That's it.
You know, in the end, it's like, yeah, the devil exists. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah, but the way they behave, the way they hide. I mean, look at that. If you would have been out there and even if you kind of maybe thought so, you hadn't seen anything that we have done or Mark has done and Melanie have done over the years, you probably would definitely dismiss it because it's almost the same color as the bushes. And I think that's the hard thing. I mean, even Bigfoot researchers that have been doing this for a long time, really good guys that I've shown, they said, that's my only thing, is that it's green. That's the indoctrination. That's what I talk about, is that. So we've got a lot to get beyond when it comes to this. So maybe we'll get there one day. Charles, the Huckleberry, what would be the average size of the Bigfoot and how tall do you think they get? Man, that is all we know is what people report and what's been seen. We don't know what hasn't been seen.
Yeah.
Are there twice as many small ones that we just don't see that are out there? What is, if you had to average it? I don't know. What do we hear? 8 feet, 7 feet, 9 feet, 10 feet, big, hairy, ugly. You know, the characteristics that seem to match ubiquitously is I don't know. I'm not trying to exculpate myself from the question. I can't give you. I don't know. How tall do I think they get? I heard one guy say 18 feet, but I mean, who in the world knows, man? He didn't show us an image of that. So
yeah, I don't know,
comes
man.
down to who do you trust?
I think they get bigger than 10 feet, and I'm going to say that.
Yeah, we've seen faces 13 feet off the ground. But we didn't see all of him. We've seen part of the shoulder, and you see, this face. But is he on somebody else's shoulders? Is he standing on the hill? Is he up the trees? It's hard to say.
There's a couple of individuals that we've caught multiple times that you can compare footage to in different spots, and they appear to be 10 feet or bigger. So I always say, okay, over 10 feet is for sure.
The two clearest shots that you have of Banner are both 10 feet.
Yeah, we measured it. It's in the Impossible video, right? So
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That one's 10 feet, and so the other one is also, because you told me it was 10 feet before you ever even got Banner on camera. So
plus I saw him. So
Little Patty. What's the name of the mountain in Maine? Can you say? Do you know?
I cannot remember. It is in the north end of Maine. That's all I know. I was at the Bold Coast side, southeast Maine, and it was northwest of us. It was northwest of us, about 300 miles. I'll say it was the northern quadrant of Maine. It's foreboding, and I know it has a reputation because Scotty was very clear about that. And I was like, "Let's go there," and he's like, "Yeah."
Another man with a certain level of awareness.
Yeah, that's right.
Here's Pam and Paul right here. This is Pam, actually. She said, I heard 2 vocalizations when I got home last night. Why do you think they react when I'm around? Hey, look, you heard us say it already, Pam. You got a boyfriend. He likes to watch you get in the pool. He likes to watch you around the house. I mean,
a scientist would, based on the behavior that you've described, Pam, in the situational awareness that I have now, I would say that he's displaying himself as a viable mate. I know that sounds like strange, but it's really strange that he's doing what he's doing. So,
yeah, I mean, you've seen them twice that you were sure was them twice, and one broad out in the open, still standing in the dark, but he wasn't hiding very well behind anything. And what are the commonalities here? You're the only one around. Paul hasn't had a sighting like that. He's had glimpses. He's caught a face and seen things at a distance and had trees fall all around, but it's you're female. Melanie Zaski, I'll say this, has caught the best images of Sasquatch you will ever see, because they're checking her out.
That's right. And I have to keep a constant eye on her, because not only do they do that to her, but she has a propensity to wander off without saying anything.
Linda,
and I'm screaming,
same thing
for my wife. So, and then it's like, keep an eye on her.
It's almost like she forgets what's out there.
It's real easy to forget that these creatures don't have a moral code that, like humans, they may have a moral code, but they don't have like a religious belief about, marriage, obviously. Like, they're not going to have our same beliefs. So
that we know of
these things, I think the wild perspective is a little more accurate, or will probably end up being a little more accurate. They're not thinking about marriage. He's looking at you like you're viable, period.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Here's Hades again. Said, any news about getting Thinker Thunker on the show? I messaged him and haven't heard back. And I don't think he's even read my message yet. I hit him on Messenger, and he probably doesn't do that. He probably gets hit with hundreds all the time like we do. We don't get hundreds, but it's quite a few. But I try to respond to as many of them as I possibly can. I always get back to all of them eventually. So don't think that you can't message or email, because we'll eventually get back to you. But that's all. I haven't heard back from him. Carrie and Mark, why do y'all think? Oh,
we got that one.
Yep, she asked it twice. That's why she didn't think I'd start it for later.
Somewhere in there.
Rusty Lewis. Like in the day of Noah, so shall it be in the coming. Okay. Thank you, Rusty Lewis. Again, y'all try not to put caps out there unless it's a question for us. We appreciate you. Flyby Stu, have you seen any more invisible drones, Mark? I've never seen one of them. Mark's seen them once or twice, but I've not.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're not visible, but I guess they are technically. If you can't see the infrared, right?
Yeah, only on those military infrared.
Yeah, you got to have Gen 3 military technology. Unfortunately, we definitely can't afford that stuff right now, crypto reality. So in the end, when we have access to the equipment is typically when we do see those things. I know the last time Scott was here, we did not see them when we were in the research area. The other 2 times that he was down, I was having problems wanting to go in the research area because of the things flying around. So and it was like, we've seen them and they're there, but that was weird what we saw at Pam and Paul's.
Yeah, it was.
Now, and that was like, I've talked to a few people about it now, and it's like, I know that those kind of things exist now. I needed to see that. So many people have described this to me, and I don't shoot down someone's opinion, and I know that they're seeing something. You have to see it to understand for yourself. Yeah. There is something flying around out there. It doesn't appear to be an insect that's known, and it's definitely not a bird. It to me appeared to be some kind of micro technology of some type. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it was dark, so all we saw was the light. So who knows how big it was?
Yeah. Really. Well, that's true too. Yeah.
So, but it was a bright light, and it was large, golf ball size, looked like to me, and moving very, very, very fast.
Wow.
So, faster than a bug, faster than a regular firefly. Anyway. Here's Iron Dogger. What makes you decide on what video shots to review? Is it a feeling you had in that particular area, or we scrub every frame. Every single frame gets looked at. Why it takes so much time.
Frames, but yes, also real-time situations. The very first thing I did when I got home from Arkansas was not sleep. I pulled up the thermal memory card and pulled the first night thermal footage off to see if we scored, and we did. And then I went straight to my encounter on day 3 from the Osmo. And I was able to ascertain that there was an encounter because I was talking about it on film as it was happening. So when you watch the clip, you find me, find the trail. You're watching me. I'm finding this trail. I found this trail. Now this has got to be their trail. And I'm walking on it, and boom, there's an encounter. So we do have that added benefit of, being able to bring you into the moment with us. As long as we're filming, you can see how we come to these conclusions in real time.
There you go. And then add tree knocks, tree fall.
Oh man.
2 + 2 is not 5.
Yeah, the tree fall, as we're calling it, that was like significant. You know what I mean? The pop, the initial pop when it broke, was what, instantly had my attention on the area.
And then crash.
You could hear it was a heavily branched, heavily leaved tree that went down.
Yeah, it was a big one. It was I couldn't have bear hugged it. It was that big.
Okay.
Yeah, it was huge. And you could see that where the roots were up a little bit. So now I've been in the woods. I've been in the woods for about 29 years. Really in the woods, I'd say for 20 of those years. Since I'm counting from when I'm a kid, right? Like 5 years old. So up until the point where I didn't go anymore, and I never heard a tree fall in the woods ever. Nowhere.
Yeah,
heard branches, come down, things like that, but not an entire tree while I was there. No, never saw it.
I mean, I've heard trees get knocked down, and that's like the 3rd or 4th one that over the last 7 years, and every single one of those times, man. It was in a situation where we were in our primary research area, and there were big things taking off through the bushes, man, and knocking a tree down as it ran off, So before that, though, I was saying that I'd never heard anything like that, man. Why would the tree fall now? Why would that tree fall? Like you're sitting there like with no wind, there's no storm, there's no nothing.
Oh, we got it on. We got that on camera too. I can't wait to get to the footage. I'm really clamoring to get to this and get to work on it and get it done. And the Donnie Miller one too.
Yeah.
They're coming eventually, y'all. I'm sorry. I've got 1,000 things going on here at work right now, and then being sick too. That didn't help. Yeah, to me, you've got Pam, who obviously has a boyfriend. When it comes to, that's focused on her anyway. And I'm not laughing it off because that's absolutely terrifying for her, one.
Yeah.
And who knows what could happen on the back of that. So if it's not, if certain measures and steps aren't made, but there's Pam, and then usually she's doing her thing by herself, and now she's doing this, and there's me and you there.
Yeah. Tree coming.
I'm like walking off like a child. Walk off.
Yeah. Well, the thing that is really a huge correlation too is the three of us approached that hill. I went up the ridge and filmed the creatures. The reason we were on that ridge was a tree just got knocked down.
Mm-hmm.
And so going up there and having an encounter after the tree got knocked down and being able to film it was pretty incredible. And I think that when we put the film together, it should show those, you know what I mean, in that timeline, man, because that's really the way it went. We were drawn to that area because of, some evidence that was going on, man, period. It was a real time situation. And I went up the mountain in the area that tree was knocked down and caught this on film. So,
Yeah. And hey, look, if we don't get to your question, I apologize. We're going to get to these last two here, and we're going to call it a show. Okay. So DSMO, do you think the government fears public reaction to the truth? I mean, kind of in the same vein of what we talked about earlier, whether it's fear, who knows? We kind of talked about what we thought earlier when it comes to that in the government or whoever it is, whether it's government. The government is so compartmentalized, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing usually. So it's some agency that has money.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Mike Stetton wants to know, Mark, you wear shorts during your research. You ever been bit by a snake?
I've been bit by like non-venomous snakes, but no, never a venomous snake. I've been come close a few times. I like wearing shorts, man, to stay cool, So far, so good. Knock on wood, man. Let's put it that way.
Well, I have been bit a lot. I have been bit by a snake. Yes. When I was 19 years old, I got bit by a copperhead.
Is that terrible or what?
It's pretty bad. You can see I've got a scar right there. I don't know how well y'all can see the scar.
Cool, dark spot.
Well, there's a scar right there, but that's not. I was bit. Where was I? I think I was bit up here, and I cut myself with my knife below it, and was holding my arm. I was working at the time at a camp, like it was Little Black Creek Water Park. And people bring it's a lake, you bring your camper and there's campsites and all that. And I was the maintenance guy. So like I said, I was 19. So I would go in the truck and go around, pick up everybody's trash and throw it in. Well, where the dumpsters were in a red clay pit. South Mississippi's red clay everywhere. So copperhead and red clay, same color. So I'm throwing these bags over in the dumpster, and I think one hit and didn't go in. It fell off and hit the ground. And I think it hit him or hit close enough to get him on alert. So I got the rest of them in. I got down and went over, picked it up, and I just reached down and grabbed it, and he nailed me. I mean, he was right between my hands. Never saw him. And I had a 90-year-old man drive me to the hospital doing about 30 miles an hour. And I was cussing, speed up. We were 45 minutes from the hospital, and my arm's starting to swell. I mean, I swelled up like back here, my jaw, all this is starting to swell. And by the time I got there, I was freaked out. I was really freaked out. I'm trying to hold tourniquet with my hand to keep and trying to push the venom out, the blood. And it was horrible. Not good. I was there for 24 hours. Yeah.
Anti-venom.
Yeah, I got one vial. Yeah, that was like 10 grand back then for one vial
Wow.
that the park paid for. They paid for all of it. So
Yeah.
I didn't work there anymore. After that, I went on and
When we went into the
became a
research
millwright.
areas, if we would have seen what I grew up with down here, I would have been very, very different. But when we were going in these areas, man, we just don't see venomous snakes, man. You know what I mean? I filmed one venomous snake in 7 years, and I've been in the swamp. I almost died from the infections of spending so much time out there, and encephalitis. My wife too. In the end, one snake, and it was in a Bigfoot track.
Yeah, got that picture too.
Yeah,
that one's in 168 hours actually, and that was I'm sorry, y'all. That was all. That was all the questions that I had gotten to, and we appreciate you guys putting them up there.
yeah.
Wait, I see one right here. Annette Prince. Carrie, was your sighting more ape or human-like? Human, 100%. I thought it was a man, but once I got a really good look, he did have that protruding mouth and that Charles Sutton head shape, only more exaggerated, you know. So yeah, I mean, a human, 100%. Thought it was a guy until probably the last 20 seconds of me actually seeing him, but I was pretty sure it wasn't, and now I'm 100% sure it wasn't. But
It was one of them.
Hey, man, I hate to leave 515 people in here, but I got
Go watch Impossible. Go watch Impossible.
yeah, you guys go watch it. We appreciate the help. We
You're
really do.
get educated on what we're doing, and you're going to be able to see and a full explanation for why people aren't seeing more of these creatures in a viable scientific, rooted in already proven science. You know, that's the cool part. You know, we've been able to link what's going on with really easily understood scientific principles.
Everyone that I've talked to said it's great and loved it. I think it's great. Set aside the fact that you're going to see one of the clearest images of Sasquatch, the face of a Sasquatch that you're probably ever going to see, or at least to this point. We're hopefully we'll get stuff a lot clearer and be able to catch them actually moving and see the movement and all that. Yeah, more out in the open. Yeah. But that's just such a tall order and a hard task. It just is. But we don't do it. We're not going to get it sitting on the couch. We have to go to these places. We have to go out where people say they've seen them, get their story. And at the very least, that's what we're going to get is the story, the Odyssey or whatever you want to call it, of what's going on with these people in this area. You're at least going to get that, what we've always done. And then, Mark really agreeing to join up with me here and to do this. We want to be of benefit to the community. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, I have to face the inevitable, and I mean, the occurrence at Pam and Paul's was another glaring example of how I need to just face this and walk forward. You know what I mean? I mean, there's been 4 or 5 opportunities in the last 2 years that, if I had stood my ground, I might not be here. That's the thing. And I can't, it's hard for me to get past that, but I have to get past it. And if I look at Pam and Paul's situation, at least if I walked forward, it may have taken off on camera, which would have been huge. And so I'm looking at these things now and I'm, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it worth it? When you're in that situation is when those decisions have to be made. And it's incredibly difficult when every cell in your body is trying to run out from under you in the other direction. And you're standing there against all of it, trying to hold the camera steady. That's the last thing coming to your mind is, let me take 75 steps towards it. It's not what you're thinking. You're thinking, I need to get out of here. Your body's telling you to get out of there, Yeah.
Regardless of what you think beforehand. That's what regardless of what you think beforehand and what you say you're going to do, when you get into that situation, it's totally different. So I think we'll get there. I think it's just going to be a matter of conditioning and doing it enough. Yeah. And because in Florida, you're not going after nothing.
We know too much now.
Yeah.
We know too much here. You know what I mean? We know that's just what it is. And so, hey, will we go in at night into the areas safely in the designated crypto reality trailways? Absolutely. And we can get it done like that. I can tell you firsthand, when you were on live on your birthday, had you come with Richard and been standing next to him, you'd have been screamed at live on Bigfoot Odyssey by a 10-footer, because that's what happened to Richard, period.
Oh, I had my own stuff going on.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
But, you know, the thing is like, we're looking at these situations as like, you know, these are the kind of things that we will only continue to be presented with because we're doing the right things. So we're going to get other opportunities. And that's the good part, you know?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, on my next days off, which is going to be in 13 days, I'm going to Florida and we're going to shoot some more.
I love when you come down here, man, because
Yep.
I get like a little more confidence when I'm in there. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, all right, I got Carrie with me tonight, man. I feel good.
Yeah, we'll both disappear. It'll be no big deal.
Yeah. Hopefully not.
Well, hey, look, man, we got an hour and a half in. We usually just do an hour here, and when we have guests on, that's what we do, is an hour. And yeah, as soon as Daniela is able to, unless I can come up with someone, if someone wants to come on the show, contact me. Love to have you, 100%. But I haven't taken the time to go look for anyone. So I had these stories that you know, we could go through and at least have something to put out for Daniela, because with her being in the hospital, she's got nothing coming in. So we're doing this for her, and we do it for you guys too. So, and we appreciate y'all showing up, all 515 of you. I think there was more than that at one time, but that's a good for a Wednesday. We really, really appreciate you guys so much. All the support. I cannot tell you how much that means for us. It's huge. It's never mind.
It is. Without the engine, the car don't move.
Yeah. Without
it's that
gas.
simple. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta put gas in the car.
Yeah.
But Mark, thanks for coming up. Hey, y'all go check out, if you haven't subscribed to Crypto Reality, go do that right after this. It's you won't be disappointed. And check out the link in the description for Impossible. We love you. We thank you. Y'all have a good night. We'll see y'all Friday night, 9:00 p.m. Central, for hopefully a guest. I'll try to work on something there and see what I can come up with. But if not, we'll still be here talking about something. So love you guys. Thanks so much. Y'all have a good night.